Let's be real for a second. You are soft. You're a fragile, gluten-free, Wi-Fi dependent little snowflake. You think hardship is when your Uber Eats driver forgets the extra ranch, or when someone uses the wrong pronouns for your cat. You post TikToks about your trauma because your mom asked you to unload the dishwasher. Shut the fuck up. Seriously. You think you know pain? You think you know what a bad day looks like? History is a blood-soaked fever dream written by absolute sociopaths who didn't have Netflix, so they had to get really creative with how they murdered each other. We are talking about a level of cruelty that makes your therapist's coping mechanisms look like a participation trophy. Back in the day, if you annoyed the wrong guy, they didn't cancel you on Twitter. They literally turned your rib cage into a pair of decorative wings while you were still breathing. So, strap in, you oversensitive pile of avocado toast. We're going on a tour through the most creative, horrifying, and holy shit who hurt you punishments in human history. But before we dive into the literal bowels of hell, do me a favor. Smash that like button and subscribe. If you don't, I'll assume you're the kind of person who would have snitched to the Inquisition, and nobody likes a narc. Subscribing is the only way to ensure your soul isn't claimed by the algorithm demons. Do it now, or you're basically complicit in the fall of Western civilization. Let's get into the carnage. 1. The Brazen Bull, the musical oven from hell. Imagine you're in ancient Greece. You've just invented something cool. You're feeling yourself. You go to the local tyrant, Phalaris of Acragas, and you say, "Hey king, check out this big-ass bronze bull I made. It's hollow." You put a person inside, light a fire underneath, and their screams come out of these pipes in the nose like a beautiful flute solo. First of all, Paralaus, the inventor, was a fucking psycho. He didn't just want to kill people. He wanted a soundtrack. He literally designed an acoustic system so that the victim's thrashing and agonizing shrieks sounded like the lowing of an angry bull. It was the world's first and most fucked up surround sound system. The relatable part? Phalaris, in a rare moment of fuck you energy that I actually respect, told Paralaus to jump inside to test the acoustics. As soon as the inventor climbed in, the king locked the hatch and lit the fire. Imagine the irony. You spend months welding this bronze monstrosity, thinking you're going to get a promotion, and instead, you become the first track on the Screams of the Damned LP. That is some peak meeting that could have been an email energy right there. Eventually, Phalaris himself was cooked in it when he was overthrown. Talk about a full circle moment. It's the ultimate lesson. Don't build a giant roasting pan unless you're prepared to be the steak. 2. Scaphism. Let's talk about the Persians. These guys weren't just brutal, they were patient. They understood that if you want to really ruin someone's life, you don't just kill them, you turn them into a living, breathing buffet for insects. Scaphism, also known as the boats, is quite possibly the most what the actual fuck punishment ever conceived. Here's the recipe for a bad time. Take one prisoner, trap them between two narrow rowing boats or hollowed out tree trunks so only their head, hands, and feet stick out. Force feed them milk and honey until they have explosive liquid diarrhea. Smear more honey all over their face and limbs. Leave them in a stagnant pond in the sun. This is where the nature is beautiful crowd gets real quiet. The honey attracts every fly, wasp, and beetle within a 5-mile radius. They start crawling into the victim's eyes, ears, and nose. But it gets worse. The diarrhea inside the boat starts to rot, attracting maggots and parasites that literally start eating the person's flesh from the inside out while they are still alive. It could take over 2 weeks to die. 2 weeks of being a human septic tank, all-you-can-eat insect buffet. You think your morning commute is shitty? Try being literally fused to your own excrement while 1,000 flies lay eggs in your skin. That is some I need a mental health day shit right there. 3. The Blood Eagle. Viking interior decorating. You've seen Vikings. You think they're cool. You like the beards and the axes. But the Vikings had a way of punishing people that makes a Mexican cartel look like a Sunday school picnic. The Blood Eagle was reserved for the worst of the worst. The executioner would tie the victim face down. Then, they would take a knife and carve the shape of an eagle into the person's back. But they weren't done. They would then use an axe to hack the ribs away from the spine one by one. Finally, and this is the chef's kiss of trauma, they would reach into the chest cavity, pull the lungs out through the back, and drape them over the shoulders like a pair of fleshy, bloody wings. As the victim gasped for air, the lungs would flutter, making them look like a bird taking flight. The catch? You had to stay silent. If you screamed, you didn't get to go to Valhalla. Imagine the sheer, unadulterated, fuck my life energy of having your lungs pulled through your back and having to pretend it doesn't hurt so you can go to a golden hall and drink beer with Odin. That is the ultimate toxic masculinity move. I'm fine, babe. It's just a scratch. Don't worry about the lungs on my shoulders. 4. Lingchi, the ultimate slow burn. If the Vikings were about drama, the Chinese were about precision. Lynching, or death by 1,000 cuts, was practiced until the early 1900s. That's right, your great-great-grandfather could have hopped on a boat and watched this for fun. The goal was simple: keep the person alive for as long as possible while you slowly slice off pieces of their body. We're talking ears, nose, fingers, toes, and eventually large chunks of meat. They would sometimes give the victim opium just to keep them from going into shock too early, because God forbid you miss out on the last 800 cuts. It was the ultimate humiliation. In a culture that valued the integrity of the body, being turned into a pile of human sashimi was the worst possible way to go. It's like the world's most morbid jigsaw puzzle, except you're the puzzle, and there's no picture on the box to help you put it back together. The Catherine Wheel. Breaking news. The wheel was the bread and butter of medieval European punishment. If you were a thief, a murderer, or just someone the local lord didn't like, you were going on the wheel. They would tie you to a large wooden wagon wheel, and then a professional breaker would take an iron bar and systematically smash every major bone in your body. They would start with the shins, then the thighs, then the arms. The trick was to weave your broken limbs through the spokes of the wheel until you looked like a human pretzel. Then they'd hoist the wheel up on a pole and leave you there. The birds would come by for a snack, the sun would bake you, and your shattered bones would provide zero support for your body weight. It was like a very slow, very public, very I should have stayed in school kind of death. It's the original break a leg joke, except nobody's laughing because your femur is currently touching your ear. Interlude. Why we secretly miss this. Let's pause. Are you triggered yet? Are you typing a comment about how problematic this is? Good. That means you're paying attention. We live in a world where we've sanitized everything. We've replaced the Catherine Wheel with constructive feedback and performance reviews. But honestly, there's something honest about ancient punishment. There was no gaslighting back then. If the king thought you were a prick, he didn't send you a passive-aggressive Slack message. He put you in a boat with some honey and let the bugs handle the HR department. There's a certain clarity in that. If you're enjoying this descent into the darkest corners of the human psyche, make sure you've liked the video. We're about to get to the absolute worst of the worst. If you haven't subscribed yet, you're basically the person who watches the Blood Eagle and complains about the lack of safety goggles. Don't be that guy. 6. The Iron Maiden. The Goth Closet. For years, people thought the Iron Maiden was a myth, a tall tale told to scare children. But even if it was more of a museum piece than a common execution tool, the idea of it is pure psychological warfare. It's an upright sarcophagus with a face on it, usually the Virgin Mary. You step inside, the door closes, and dozens of iron spikes impale you. But here's the kicker. The spikes weren't positioned to kill you instantly. They were strategically placed to miss your vital organs. They would pierce your eyes, your gut, your limbs, basically everything that would make you scream without actually stopping your heart. You'd be trapped in a dark metal box, bleeding out from 20 different holes, unable to move, unable to see, just waiting for the sweet embrace of not being in a spike-filled coffin anymore. It's the ultimate tight space phobia. It's like being stuck in an elevator, but the elevator is trying to eat you. 7. The Judas Cradle. The seat no one wants. This one is just mean. The Judas Cradle was a pyramid-shaped seat. The victim would be lowered onto the sharp point of the pyramid via ropes. The point would enter the, well, let's just say the exit-only zones. The executioner could vary the pressure by loosening the ropes, or even dropping the victim repeatedly onto the point. It was designed to stretch and tear the most sensitive parts of the human anatomy. And because they rarely cleaned the thing, if the pain didn't kill you, the massive infection definitely would. It's the most invasive, how's your day going ever. It makes a colonoscopy look like a spa day. Imagine the sheer, blinding realization that your life is ending because you're being slowly impaled by a wooden triangle. That is this could have been an email moment if I've ever seen one. 8. Sawing. The split decision. Sometimes you don't need fancy equipment. You just need a big-ass saw, and 2 guys who really, really hate you. In various cultures, from the Roman Empire to the Middle Ages, sawing was a popular way to deal with rebels. They would hang you upside down, which was key. Hanging upside down kept the blood in your head, meaning you stayed conscious for as long as possible. The executioners would then start sawing you in half, starting from the crotch. Because you were upside down, they could often get all the way to your midsection or even your chest before you finally had the decency to die. It's the ultimate split personality joke. You're literally watching yourself become 2 different people. If that's not a metaphor for the modern work-life balance struggle, I don't know what is. You're being torn apart by 2 opposing forces, and you're just trying to keep your head from exploding. The relatable reality of the macabre. So why do we care about this? Because deep down in that lizard brain of yours, you know that humans are the most dangerous animals on the planet. We are the only species that sits down and thinks, how can I make this person's death as musically pleasing as possible? Or how can I use diarrhea as a weapon? We like to think we're civilized. We like to think we've evolved past this. But look at the internet. Look at the way people treat each other in the comments section. We've just traded the iron bar for the keyboard. We've traded the Catherine wheel for the cancel culture dog pile. We still want to see people broken. We just want to do it from the comfort of our ergonomic chairs while sipping a soy latte. History isn't just a list of dates, it's a list of all that we've tried to hurt each other. And honestly, it's kind of impressive. The creativity, the dedication, the sheer effort put into being a total piece of shit. It's almost inspiring. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You have a twisted sense of humor and a high tolerance for bullshit. You're my kind of person. You're probably the person who would have been selling popcorn at the Inquisition. Now, do the right thing. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. If you don't, I'll assume you're currently being force-fed milk and honey in a Persian swamp. Don't let the algorithm win. Stay curious, stay twisted, and for the love of God, stop complaining about your slow Wi-Fi. It could be so much worse.